Step inside and explore the power of the creative classroom. The power for students starts with teachers' goals and values. What is it that teachers want their students to get out of being in a creative classroom?
Give them ownership, because when it's ownership, it means it belongs to them, and it's going to stay with them.
My whole curriculum is based on promoting thinking, reasoning, and language skills, because those lead to a greater sense of independence and self-worth.
I want them to be lifelong learners. I want them to understand that education is their right, but it's also their responsibility, and that they have as big a part in this as everybody else.
Kids give us their energy and give us their thoughts, and when they're doing that, learning's taking place.
The following 3 vignettes show teachers putting their goals for students into practice. As you watch this section, think about what students are learning. What is it that students take away from being in these classrooms?
Look, it froze up.
What's causing that?
Pressure.
Pressure from what?
Gas.
Whoa!
What Paul does, he gets in kids engaged in the concept, they develop the concept, they understand the concept, they understand the why, and they're able to transfer that to basic knowledge.
Josh, I'd like you to take this balloon, and I'd like you to hold it up and see what happens when it heats up. What's happening to that old balloon? What are those molecules doing right now?
They're expanding.
Expanding, exactly.
I think what's happening in his classroom is more than just an understanding of science or one topic. They're understanding how to learn and how they can transfer what they're doing in this class to every other class that they have and become active learners and become lifelong learners.
That's the vortex.
It looks like the moon.
It's like the moon, okay? We're out here to understand the importance of how scientists do their jobs. You young people are scientists. You're investigators. You're out here trying to figure out what this planet is that we've just landed on. And you have to classify this planet. And you're going to spend some of your time going out and collecting little chunks of leaves. You're going to try to find some insects, anything that's living. And then you're going to go out, and we've scattered a few rocks out there like you're on a planet, and you want to go collect these rocks and see if there's some type of geologic history that we can look at on this planet.
Oh yeah, we should put that in the plant thing. Oh, you already got one? I found something! Woohoo! Yeah! It's kind of shiny.
It's got a lot of quartzite in it. You know what we got to do with that?
What?
Keep it, and we'll go in there and cut it apart tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, which one's yours?
Well, both of them. This
Both
one's
of them?
like rocks and this one's...
Okay, good. Whoa, what is that? How would we classify that?
There's something left over.
If we looked at that on a foreign planet, we'd think, whoa, there must be a building or something somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I've been around scientists, and I get a chance to see how they formulate their ideas and create these educated guesses about how things happen. And I watch how they write their information in their journals and how intense they get into their research. You take an astronomer that's out there at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning studying these little volcanoes on Io, and will stay up all night long doing these things and then spend the rest of the day and maybe part of the next day reducing the data from this because they're so engaged in what's going on. That's the kind of environment that I want my young people to have. That's the kind of thinking I want them to possess.
Mr. Crick, the water was cold, but it was warmer in the ground.
I evaluate my students by the questions that they ask and not by the answers that they give, because the answering part of it just shows that they're doing the rote memorization. But when you connect them, when they're involved in what's going on, when they're questioning things all the time, it's going to stay with them. We must have a building somewhere around here. There must be a civilization on this planet, huh?
Mr. Cripps probably wants us to learn how to be curious and observant
and to notice what's around us and to take notes about it.
This car, Mr. Cripps made it so it could go on Mars, and we learned how to drive it if we were on Mars. This Mars yard makes us learn a lot more. It lets us experience it, I think, more, instead of reading it in a textbook.
I like his idea of science. It's not about reading books and doing worksheets and stuff. He takes us out and we do real science, and we get to look for stuff, and we get to have fun, and we learn at the same time. Yeah, we're having fun and learning at the same time.
This way, it's gonna probably stay with you more because you're learning it in a fun, unique way.
We're going to cut our rocks apart. We're going to lay all this stuff out on a table, and you're going to draw up a paragraph or so of what you think is on this planet.
It's up to us to provide an environment for them to take off. These great scientists out there, how did they get the enthusiasm to go out and explore like they did? It's because of constant experimentation, constantly wondering what's out there in nature. And that's what education's all about, and that's what it's got to be. We have to get away from the idea that we are the center of what's going on in the classroom. The students are the center.
Fantástico. Satira, perdón. Annie contestó. Annie estaba apasionada en el momento. She was impassioned over the question. I'm sorry, she answered. Okay. Annie? What? She lost her passion already. Okay.
I have a real strong desire to create community in my classroom. Number one, we're all together for a whole year. I want it to be very real, and I want my students to be really comfortable.
Rayas rojas.
Language classes are huge, and one would ask oneself, how could we teach language to all these people at one time and help them to achieve their goals and become proficient with the language? The only way I thought that could happen possibly was to break the large groups into smaller groups.
De los derechos del niño, okay?
Sí.
My centers are theme and activity based because it motivates not only myself but my students to discover the theme.
In un patio or in el patio?
And it's functionally based in the sense that you will develop certain language skills. They become not secondary, but a platform in which you develop higher thinking skills, higher levels of reasoning and understanding.
Hola, mi nombre es Shakina y soy de los Estados Unidos. Hola, mi nombre es Marina y soy de los Estados Unidos.
Hola, mi nombre es Marcos y soy de Guatemala. Hola, mi nombre es Joey, soy de Guatemala. ¿Qué tomas adrede?
Yo tomo adrede el dinero y su adquisición porque en mi país hay muchos trabajos y hay otras organizaciones que ayudan a personas sin casas y sin comida y tiene problemas en las casas.
When we are developing ourselves in our centers, we are part of that development. Our understanding of where we've been, where we're going with our own lives, examples of what that might be in relationship to what other people in the world are going through. Young people really want to understand other people. And so when we do a comparative study between Central American children, as we did in one of the centers, and their own personal lives, I think what mostly stunned them was that Central American children were begging to go to school and not having any of the resources.
Los niños en Nicaragua y Guatemala, quien no tiene electricidad, cuando me ducho, olvido los niños no tienen agua corriente.
Correcto.
Después de miraba
De mirar.
el video, consigue. How would you say I appreciate?
Oh, aprecio, sí.
Aprecio mis cosas más.
Mucho más.
Mucho más.
Suave tener una escuela tan bonita, ¿no? Sí, es cierto. Muy bien, señorita. Is this the same group that said they couldn't speak Spanish yesterday? You are impressing me.
When it's about something you care about, I think it's easier.
It comes. It really, the passion just fills you with wanting to say what you need to say. That's right. That's what's great. Whatever our students are developing, it's real life. It's real life concepts, and I think that that's very important. We emailed the president of Guatemala about civil rights concerns. Sería bonito mandar el email hoy, eh? Hey, Mr. Prez, what about this?
I'm here today to solicit your cooperation and assistance to see if you can translate some documents for us that has to do with evacuation notices in the event that a hurricane comes about.
Leslie Revis and her class have had a very powerful impact in this community.
See?
They've been able to supply Spanish translations for all of our agencies who are anxious to serve the Hispanic community. As a result of this project, I see enormous growth in these young people that Leslie's working with. They're extraordinarily proud of the work they're doing, but more importantly, I think that they're absolutely stunned to find out that they are doing something that grown-ups view as valuable.
I'm going to try to get involved in book goods, translating book goods for the hospitals and for other people that need it because they're Mexicans that come to the United States. And can I get any help because they don't understand what the book's saying or the phone numbers and stuff. So that's why I want to help out.
¿Qué representan?
Estado.
Los estados. Oh, Lamar. Eres brillante. Estados Unidos. I judge success in my classroom by the level of happiness that I see in my students, their laughter, their joy, their passion for discovery. When they are plugged in and energized and love what they're discovering and know that they can make a difference for other people, that's all they really want. They just go and go and go and go. And it's an endless journey. It's a journey full of ideas, and it's motivated and limited only by our creativity.
Can you tell me how he died? Put me there with words. They put the whole class there with words. Louise?
He had pressure right here, and so he sat down, and then he had a heart attack.
I'm getting the picture. See, she's painting a great picture with words.
He had a heart attack, and he fell over, and that's how they found him dead.
The project we're working on this year is a project that we call Tales the Tombstones Tell, where we've taken the kids from a tombstone out on southeastern Madeira, and we'll lead them into a published book. The steps that we incorporate in this project are basically three. The research segment, where the kids follow the paper trail left by this pioneer. There's the assimilation segment, where they correlate their data with broader national events. And there's the synthesis segment, where they actually write the book. In doing a biography, it takes research. You can't do research without knowing how to read. You can't publish a book without knowing how to write. It takes all of these tools. These things are just tools that we use to produce an authentic work. So they picked up the body and they brought it back to that house that we saw, and they had the funeral out at that house. And they laid to rest the father of Madera County. But you know, on his tombstone, it doesn't say that. It says he served with Lee and Jackson and surrendered to the Appomattox. Folks, your lives have keys to them. They have turning keys. My life has a key to it. You can understand me if you find my turning key. You can understand Mordecai if you find his turning key. You can understand yourselves if you find your turning key. Think about Mordecai's tombstone. What do you think his turning key is? The turning key that unlocks the door to understanding. What part of his life do you think was most important? Maria Cruz.
When he served in Civil War.
When he served in the Civil War. No doubt about that. He served with Lee. It's like he's speaking to us from across the ages. That's what it's like. He's speaking to us from the grave.
Bill Coates excites students with his teaching.
In doing so, students seem to learn much better in the way that he teaches. My daughter has great qualities, but he seems like Bill polishes them and makes them shine. My daughter is extremely excited pretty much every day when she comes home.
I like Mr. Coates' class because he's real entertaining and he can really teach us in a different way.
Look what they've done. They have found proof that Grant was here in Madeira. Now, did he meet Mordecai?
I kind of feel like a detective, but also a student as well. You're like a mix, a detective and a student. You're finding research and putting it all together and trying to make a book.
You're going to build a hypothesis, a guess. It's an educated guess. I want you to take a guess. There's no such thing as right or wrong.
One of the most valuable things that we're attempting to do here is to integrate the curriculum around the core of the past using history. Now, I'm not teaching history. Let me underscore that. I'm using history as a vehicle to connect all of the humanities.
Awful event, President Lincoln shot by an assassin.
You have just read in the newspaper that President Lincoln has been shot. I want you to describe what happened. In the second paragraph of this diary entry, I want you to tell me how you feel about what happened. And here's where you become the author. Here's where you decide what George Washington Mordecai thought about the assassination of President Lincoln. Help each other.
My greatest asset in terms of assessment is the informal assessment. I never stop looking in my class, and I never stop watching. And the kids write to me every morning, and I read it every night, and so I know. Their writing gets better. Their talking to me gets better. Now, we're at the beginning of the year, and they're not talking very much right now, but before the year is out, they'll be talking to me quite a bit. And so how do I know they're learning? I know they're learning by their actions.
I read in the newspaper a shocking news. President Lincoln was killed. He was shot in the head. Lincoln was in the 4th theater. At the time when a man came up to him with a pistol, the man screamed, "Sic semper tyra."
Outstanding. Give her a great big hand. That's great. Somebody else want to share with us?
If a child is not excited about school, there are dangers, obviously. A teacher, in my opinion, has to be more than just a presenter. We have to motivate. And that means excitement.
Anybody else? Okay, Elise, let's hear it.
Dear Diary, I read in the newspaper that Lincoln was shot. It said here that his wife and friends went to 4th Theater to watch The American Cousin. Lincoln and his wife and the people watched the play, but during the 3rd act, a pistol was heard from up above at the president's box. All looked up and saw a man waving a pistol, shouting, "Sic semper tyrannis," and jumped out of the box, mounted on a horse, and left. The screams of Miss Lincoln sent people chasing the assassin, saying, "Hang him, hang him." Examination was held upon the president. Results were that Lincoln was shot in his head. Blood in his brain oozed out of the innocent man's head.
That is tremendous. All you guys.
Making the power of a creative classroom a reality takes work. But it is the kind of work that offers unique rewards. Listen as these teachers talk about the benefits they receive.
This is a mission. This is a calling. This is something you do because you love it, that maybe you don't have all the skill yet, but you're willing to learn, you're willing to try, you're willing to risk, you're willing to get down in it and work it through.
If I have the philosophy that I'm going to do something a little bit different tomorrow than I did today, I'm going to design something a little different for my students to work with than I did yesterday, that's going to keep me fresh. That's going to keep me engaged in the process. And I absolutely thrive on doing this stuff.
Fundamentally, I think an educator has to have the fortitude of wanting more than just learning course knowledge. You want people to become better people.
I just delight in finding the humorous button in a student because when I look at them, they just make me smile. They keep me motivated. They are just so amazing as individuals.
Coming to school every day is a kick. I love to come to work, and I don't think there's a lot of people who can say that. I just can't wait to come and find out what these two have in store for that day.
It's very fulfilling to know that I was instrumental in helping change someone's life, in knowing that you can have an impact on one person, and that person can turn around and have an impact on another person, and it makes you feel terrific.
Realizing the power of a creative classroom is a collaborative endeavor that calls on parents, teachers, and students to work together. As you watch this next segment, listen for the ways these teachers work together to share power and nurture their own creative classrooms.
When they walk into our classroom, they're going to see 3 people that are working with one another, and I think that's a really positive role model situation for them.
When we put the lab together, we were going, wow, I bet we could do this. We could add this. I've got this at home. And you start, and the juices were flowing, and we
always have to tame it down.
And then we get excited, and then we can't wait to get to school the next day to try it.
2, 1. Hit it. To get the concept of mass across today, we used a lot of props, getting into a car, to have me propelled down a ramp, down an inclined plane. They were able to see it. They were able to remember it. That's what they're going to take home to the dinner table.
How many people think the wagon would have gone farther?
All right, somebody raise their hand and say why they think that one's going to go further. Who had that as a hypothesis? Yes.
That one has more mass, so it would get more momentum when it's coming out.
They themselves, working together as a team, are constantly improving the program. The students see the Astro One team as a role model every day. They see teachers working together, planning together, setting up experiments.
We challenge each other, whereas otherwise, sometimes when you're alone, you don't have somebody who forces you to raise the bar. We don't expect each person in the team to take on the persona of the other one. But what we've tried to do is to use those strengths to benefit the learning environment for the child.
So how many altogether now? 601 centimeters.
They were able to take today's lesson by watching it in the middle room and then go into the other rooms and actually apply what they've learned to actually make what we did come real for them. Our environment's an open environment. Each room opens into the next room, and that kind of exemplifies how we are with one another. And it's open for all the students to hear what's going on in one another's classroom. It's important to be open in a team environment.
When students walk in, I think the message is sent, we care about you, to take the time to make something, a creative environment for you.
I would say the advantage of working in a team is that everyone is able to build each other up. They're able to point out your strengths, point out your weaknesses. You have a good time, you have a lot of laughter, and the benefit of all of it is the students win. The students are the ones who get the most out of a team.
My role as a teacher is to work with the parents and the students in defining what it is that are their goals and then helping them reach those goals. Anna, you know what a lease is?
No, I don't.
You know, Jenny? Noah?
It's when you want an apartment and then they give you that and then you have to sign a couple of papers.
What do I need? Should I give her my jewelry? Here.
Money.
When you start talking and dialoguing and working together as a group, expectations rise, and they also rise in the community when the community begins to see that we have people who are capable, a dynamic group of students and parents that do significant things for themselves and other people. Everybody's expectations rise.
I learned how to do my own laundry.
Did you have fun?
Yeah.
What'd you like the best?
They had my friends over for dinner.
We need to unlock each person's ability and figure out what is the key to that person, which is what makes education exciting. It's the creative part of education. It's motivating students and then figuring out for each what is it that's going to unlock that secret or that barrier or remove that bar. And so that's what's fun for me, is to be able to do that and to try to figure it out with parents and everybody else's input. You develop trust with human beings, whether they're a parent or a student. The parents are exactly like the students, they're individuals. Some are very helpful, and some are obstacles, but usually it's only an obstacle because they're fearful, and they may not know me very well, so why should they entrust the most precious thing they have to me? So part of my getting to know parents is getting them to establish a trust in me and to talk with them a lot about everyday things, things that are not the barriers, things that are not the issues, but just to get to know them.
I didn't spend any money.
But do you still have to put it down?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. What keeps me going are absolutely the students. They are wonderful. They're different, they're challenging, they're inspiring. I'm amazed at, how, if I trust them and involve them in the process, but substantively involve them in the process of the learning. It's very exciting to come every day to work.
Does someone else's opinion have to be your opinion about yourself? No. No.
It's a teaching learning climate where everybody's a learner, and I think that gets to the vision that if you have a center of a community that is alive and radiating learning, then everybody there has to be a learner.
My way is to find out what other people are doing and let them know what I'm doing, because it's exciting. It's like, ooh, I had real success with this project that I thought was going to bomb, or I wasn't so sure about this. Do you think your kids can handle it? Am I going to push them?
You always see teachers in and out, and it's a very friendly environment. Come on in, what did you do today? There's always stories to tell.
And it's nice because we can feed off each other in those experiences.
Using your team around you as backup, as support to help you try something new. It might be a little bit daring, it might be, a little trepidation, but it's a safe place.
Now what we need to do is give Greta some suggestions. What would you do with these folks?
I was sitting in on one of the teacher support groups that the teachers developed here. A group of teachers were talking about how to improve writing. One of our intermediate teachers put down a piece of writing and said, okay, would you all please look at Eric's work with me? I think I've got it to the point now where he understands beginning, middle, and end. So we've got the sequencing down. And his punctuation and spelling, we're making progress on that. But I cannot figure out how to take this little guy and help him understand how to divide his thoughts into paragraphs.
We start talking about kids' work and looking at the work that they're doing. We start talking about thinking of strategies of how we're going to help this kid.
It was very much of a pulling together and saying, oh, well, let me tell you some of the things that I've done. To watch that happen, to watch a teacher trust her colleagues enough to be willing to say, here's a sample of something that not the best kid in my class is doing, but in fact a struggling student.
In that group, you'll see that there's people with many different experiences and those experiences are brought to the table.
Just find me.
We're becoming very leaderful,